Blessings, friends. Welcome back to Take Back Our Tech, the TBOT show. I'm your host, Hakeem Anwar. This is the only show on the internet bringing you weekly, well-researched, well-informed, and the most impactful tech stories of the week, all in 20 minutes. Yes, I know that's ambitious, but we're going to do it anyways. Plus, one important tech solution at the end of every show, so you're always developing your skills. In today's show, we are going to be taking a close look at AI. It appears to be everywhere. It's in our social media, it's in our memes, it's in the films that we watch online, and now it's in our government. Does organic intelligence, OI, ever stand a chance to this ever-expanding beast that is AI? In today's episode, we're going to look at the following stories. Will Google's AI filmmaking tool, Flow, replace filmmakers? Google released its new AI video tool, Flow, powered by VO3, their AI model, and they like to suggest that it's the future of filmmaking. I sat down through a few short AI films to tell you if it's actually worth watching and could replace creatives or other filmmakers. Story number 2. Apple has scanned the local photos of iPhone and iMac users for landmarks. So what does that mean, landmarks? Well, they did this without your consent if you're updated because of this new feature called Enhanced Visual Search. We're going to learn how that actually works and why they did this. The answer, I think, is pretty sinister. Story number 3. Big, beautiful surveillance. Palantir's AI is unleashed on Americans. You might know about Trump's big, beautiful bill, but you didn't look at page 278, where all states must cooperate with federal AI programs for 10 years. Is that because Palantir has over $1 billion in contracts with the US government? I looked into their projects and even found a guide on how to use their software. We're going to find out how the system works. Lastly, humanoid delivery robots coming to your door with packages, your Amazon packages. Amazon is getting ready to test out delivery bipedal robots in controlled locations. We're going to look at the details and also the recent development of robotics. Before we get into the rest of the show, I just want to thank you for such a successful launch of episode 1 on our Substack, tbot.substack.com, and also published on takebackourtech.org. I feel like this is the right approach, and we're going to keep doing this. I'm super committed to this. This show is a lot of work, more than I originally thought. Partly because I'm not using AI. It's all done manually, and so this week I've spent about 10 hours on the show already. I also want to remind you that we have the launch of our Share product from our technology company Above. You can check out this blog post. This is a file sharing solution that we've just published. And also, if you're looking to buy a phone or a laptop, we now offer payment plans so you don't have to pay everything up front. Lastly, I want to ask you guys today, if you guys want to thank me for this work, please do one of two things. One, follow me on Substack and on our official website, takebackourtech.org. 2, please share this with 5 of your closest friends and family because this news is important. And also leave a comment on my Substack telling me which story you liked hearing the most and any other feedback you might have. I love you guys, and this is a collaborative effort. Now, let's get into the stories of this week. Google. Are they out to get rid of filmmakers with their new tool? I don't think it's happening anytime soon. In May, Google released their AI video tool. It's called Flow, and it's powered by VO3, their generative AI model, which is the third line of their AI models. And at first glance, it's really, really impressive. This model can take the text you type in and create detailed scenes from your prompt, from your words, and also it can generate voice dialogue from your scripts. You can even specify the style of animation you want, the camera, and the camera action. So Google went for this feel-good promotion, saying that they launched Flow 3 and were developing it with the aid of filmmakers. They really love to say how they collaborated with filmmakers. But when I looked at the 3 filmmakers involved in the project, I discovered, well, I don't know if they could call themselves filmmakers. They're more AI filmmakers, and they've made all their most recent projects with AI. So the 3 filmmakers are Dave Clark, Junie Lau, and Henry Dobrez. I really had to watch the films to ask how close are we to this replacing film. So when I looked at how it worked, there's definitely not any film involved. It's just prompting and attaching scenes and then some video editing on top of it. The people who are involved, there's Dave Clark, who is also part of Promise, which is a generative AI studio startup funded by Andreessen Horowitz, which is going to start bringing this AI stuff to movies. There's Henry Daubez. I think these AI films are incredibly boring. I think they lack soul. I think they lack originality. Part of that is that all of these AI tools actually are trained on existing movies, so they're kind of rehashing all this complex web of things that they've already seen. Now, to give one person in this, Henry, credit, some people are designers and they have done some creative work, but now with AI, calling yourself an AI filmmaker, it doesn't make sense. I don't think they should call themselves filmmakers. It's an insult to the art, and I'm not even a filmmaker, but this is what I feel. They defend their work by saying that, hey, they sifted to 1,700 shots to find the right ones. This is from Henry's AI movie called Kitsune, which you can watch on YouTube. But I think it's really boring. I don't think it has originality. And also, the AI doesn't do a good job at dialogue. I mean, you look at some of these films, like the Freelancers films, they're not even talking to us. They're not even talking to each other. They can't even look each other in the eyes. When they're in a gunfight, they're literally firing in random directions as the building is falling apart. It doesn't work. You can't make a scene longer than a few seconds that feels natural. Nothing feels natural in these films. Right now, what it's going to do really well is to do things that would normally require CGI. And it's also doing things like physics, like small amounts of physics, like objects pushing other objects out of the way. It's also doing camera angles well, and the different styles of camera angles. So I suggest checking them out and giving it your thoughts. There's a bunch of negative comments on these films that got removed. Let's move on to the next story. Apple has a new feature, enhanced visual search. They released it on iOS 18 and macOS 15 without your consent. So as soon as you updated, this feature was enabled on. And because it's enabled on, you had no way to stop it. The purpose of the feature was to help you search for landmarks in your photos. So you went out with your friends to New York City? Well, you want to look up those Statue of Liberty pics by name. You can type them in and those photos will come up. But what Apple did was they turned this on without your consent, and they scanned all the photos in your phone for particular regions that might be landmarks, and they took off these regions of interest and they sent it off to Apple. So this was originally discovered by Jeff Johnson of LabCat Software. He notes there's different screens inside of his Mac and iPhone that show, oh, hey, now these features are enabled. And what Jeff discovered was Apple never even did so much as a blog post about it. There was only two places where this feature was mentioned on Apple's website. The first was a legal notice in Photos and Privacy, which says your device privately matches places in your photos to a global index Apple maintains on our servers. We apply homomorphic encryption and differential privacies, and we hide your IP address, blah, blah, blah. The second was a machine learning paper called Combining Machine Learning and Homomorphic Encryption in the Apple Ecosystem. There it is. There's their Photos and Privacy notice. And then this is their Combining Machine Learning paper. And if you scroll down through this, it does its best to explain what exactly they're doing. For instance, Apple is doing this for phone calls, incoming phone calls. If you want to find the logo associated with that, they encrypt this data through homomorphic encryption, and they're able to find the relevant picture associated with it. Or they use it for images in your email inbox, or they use it to look up to see if web content should be restricted. So these are all different reasons to use this private information retrieval. And in this landmarks case, because the photos on your phone, they're not going to exactly look like Apple's version of the Statue of Liberty. So they use something called Private Nearest Neighbor Search to find photos that look very similar. Now, there's a few gaping problems with Apple's approach to this. One is obvious. None of the source code used in these mechanisms is open source or auditable. So they can tell us all these things about homomorphic encryption and cryptography stuff that only a handful of the people in the world would understand, but no one's going to be able to audit it. No one could give their thoughts on the cryptography or the process. And there's also no dedicated information about and how enhanced visual service works. What metadata is it actually collecting about your photos? It's up in the air. And what is stored in their global index? And why on earth did Apple never warn anyone about what they're doing? There's not so much as a notification. They just turned it on. That is not a company that cares about your privacy. So why did they do this? It's my hunch that Apple is working on a surveillance tool. It's a surveillance database that if you give it an image posted anywhere, Apple can go and compare it with their index of landmarks and figure out where in the world you were. Now, this is really similar to ChatGPT's new O3 reasoning model, which can do things like geoguessing, which if you know about geoguessing, you give it a picture and it tells you where in the world you might be. So it's pretty interesting to see the O3 AI model go about it, because it'll break apart parts of your photo, zoom into the skyline, zoom into the buildings, and use that to search the web, cross-reference it, and to give you a better idea of your location. If you ever watch that show, CSI, where they go into like the blurry surveillance footage and they're like,
enhance the reflection in her eye.
And they get like super up close and they find this crazy detail that uncovers the whole case. This is not new for Apple. They've been doing this in previous years. We know we discovered a secret Wi-Fi positioning database in 2024 that had the location of all of the Wi-Fi networks on Earth. The scary part is Apple makes you the instrument of their surveillance. Simply by opting in to using big tech tools, you are now part of the problem. You are now part of the surveillance. You're now helping spying on others. I looked at this quote from Steve Jobs back in 2010, where he talks about privacy as in the perspective of Apple.
Privacy means people know what they're signing up for in plain English and repeatedly. That's what it means. I'm an optimist. I believe people are smart. And some people want to share more data than other people do. Ask them. Ask them every time. Make them tell you to stop asking them if they get tired of you asking them. Let them know precisely what you're going to do with their data.
And we can't count on tech companies to protect us. We must take it back into our own hands. We must get rid of our iPhones and Apple devices if we have it, and switch to de-Googled or open source operating systems as quickly as we can. That's why we have a company called Above. That's why we offer these privacy phones and laptops, and I invite you to check them out. Please look at the link below if you're interested. Big, beautiful surveillance. Don't you love it when surveillance and tyranny is homegrown and put forth by those people you just want to support, like Trump and his new big, beautiful bill? Don't read page 278, because that's where it says that states should remove any obstacles to artificial intelligence. So let's look at that here. It's already passed the House of Representatives. It's moving on to the Senate. I did read page 278, which it says here, except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce any regulation that prevents or limits or restricts artificial intelligence models. That's right. States cannot protect you from using artificial intelligence models, and if they do, that's actually a criminal offense. Why are they doing this? Well, could it be because of this company called Palantir that the United States government is in bed with? Palantir's tools are already spread out to many government agencies. Now, I'd like to call them the big data company of the government and the military. And you might also pay attention to Trump's executive order earlier this year in March, where he said, agency heads, we must now unify data. We can't keep data siloed, and we must do our best to make information searchable by other departments or potentially by an AI, which is where Palantir technology comes in. That's right. At least a week ago, their total transactions were about $673 million, and they just earned a new contract with the US military for about $795 million. But you can see this, about 237 contracts, and they're very quickly gaining popularity, as you can see here, just growing in size every year with straight up growth, linear growth here. even in the Biden era and now in the Trump era. Some of their clients include the Department of Defense for a $400 million contract, the Department of Homeland Security, National Institutes for Health, and the CDC and the IRS. You name it, they're in bed. They're involved with pretty much everything. Now let's talk about if you were given access to all the data of a government like the US government, then these other programs that Palantir is taking on and becoming contracted with start to make more sense. Let's look at one program they did for the CDC. This is data from that. This is originally, I believe they called it Project Tiberius. This is built off of Palantir's Foundry. And all of Palantir's tools are more or less the same. You could call it an AI-powered big data platform. The way it works is that you take data from multiple parts of an organization, different databases, and you create a digital representation of it. Palantir's technology that does this is called ontology. So imagine for the CDC, you have patients, you have vaccines, and you have distribution centers. You actually create digital representations of these, and you can define the relationships between the different parties. And that way, as new data comes in, whether it's changes in processes, whether it's manual reporting, your visual of the network as a whole can change over time. You get insights into how things are going, and you can use these insights to make decisions. You could also use it to simulate decisions in your organization. So once all the data and the company's behavior is being monitored, Foundry's AI models can compute optimizations across the business, and decisions can be simulated in advance. Then the results can be fed back to AI, and it can continue to optimize itself. So the CDC used Palantir's Foundry under the hood. We also have Palantir being involved in Project Maven, which is a Pentagon project. It is about algorithmic warfare, and it was originally named Algorithmic Warfare Cross-Functional Team, and Palantir just won a $795 million contract. So this is all about data fusion, right? It's that concept again of not siloing the data, unifying it so that AI and machine learning can learn from it. But Palantir usually likes to work with these two tools, Foundry and Gotham. So as Foundry is meant for corporations, it's not meant for the military, it's meant for corporations so they can do the same thing. The Gotham product is an intelligence agency and law enforcement tool, which was first used, it was their first tool that Palantir developed, and it was used for military decision making, but now rumors say it's so good at what it does, it's actually in use by police departments, by like the LAPD and NYPD. This was first reported on, I believe, in 2020 by BuzzFeed News. That's right, BuzzFeed News did some journalism. They submitted a Freedom of Information Act to tell you about how this works, and they had documents showing you how to use the Gotham tools. Now, this is really, really crazy. About half of the LAPD police force use this Gotham tool, and it not only hooks up to the LAPD databases for those who were arrested, convicted, and inspected, it also feeds into the traffic stops. It also feeds into the daily law enforcement activities. Then officers can also add a name and update this in real time, and once they add your name to it, you become part of that surveillance network. All of this information is being aggregated, and once it's aggregated, these police officers have the ability to do full text search of the suspects. They could search for things like, okay, this dude is male, the suspect is male, white, he's part of the Peckerwood gang, and he's got a skull tattoo, and it will literally pull up everyone who matches that description. Not only that, but their addresses, their last known addresses, emails, vehicles, any warrants out for their arrest, and mugshots. Also, the people that they are connected to, their significant others, the people they associated with, and any surveillance pictures that they've that have shown up. This tool is the most sophisticated surveillance tool I've ever seen in my life, and it's part of that big data approach that many big tech companies have been using for the past decade, and it's now coming to government. Now, these data sharing agreements between different governmental entities is all they need to move move around the Fourth Amendment. If the IRS, the IRS, which is already talking to Palantir as well as other agencies, if they connect Gotham, they get a version of Gotham and they connect it to financial record systems like bank transactions or crypto wallets, which I've already reported about in the first TBOT show episode, then they have an easy way to flag suspected offenders. This is something to watch out for. I think it's the biggest story of this year, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. I'm also going to be on a panel for the Independent Media Alliance very soon where we'll talk about Palantir, so check that out. And I am so over on time, and the whole show should be done by now, but we actually have 2 more stories. Delivery robots coming soon to your door. Amazon is now going to be working on humanoid robots to deliver packages. They're building a humanoid park in the US to try out robots that will be on Rivian electric vans that will get to their location and hop out and deliver packages to their doors. An insider shared new details about this, saying that the existing indoor obstacle course isn't big enough and they're actually making a test site for these robots. Once it's tested, they're going to send them out on field trips pretty soon. And Amazon has been releasing a lot of new information about the robots. They talked about these robots at their delivery center. There are lots of robots that do things like unload carts, manage package flow, and scanning packages, all these sorts of things. But meanwhile, China has been doing this for a very long time. Chinese big tech company Alibaba has already made 10 million deliveries all the way back in 2022. Now, all of these tech companies or these distribution companies are worried about this last mile problem. That's the hardest thing, is how to get the packages from the distribution center to your door. In fact, according to Alibaba, they account up for about 30% of your total shipment costs. So that's why Amazon is leaning on things like this. And that's also why we see all this investment in humanoid robots. Now, this is pretty interesting. Chinese bipedal robots are beginning to run half marathons. In April of this year, humanoid robots participated in half marathons. About 21 robots participated and only 6 completed the race. And this one pictured here, his name is Tangong Ultra, and he was able to, it was able to finish the race in 2 hours and 40 minutes. It only fell down once, and assistants needed to change its battery 3 times. So China is definitely all in on these humanoid robots in a very, very crazy world. AI seems to be everywhere. I have to ask, is organic intelligence going to stand a chance? Are humans going to be industrious and resistant enough to these technologies to make it so we're not tracked in a complete surveillance grid where robots could actually push us to do their every whim and make us out to be slaves? I don't know. It's very unclear to me. This technology is changing really, really fast, and for me, I feel like going back to nature. That's why when we do this show, we don't do it with any AI, not even self-hosted AI. It's all done in human form, because that's what really matters. So my friends, I encourage you to stick to your soul. Stick to your soul. Don't become just another data point. Resist feeding into these beast systems as much as you can. Resist these beast systems as much as you can. Don't feed into any company that might have a data sharing agreement. The bigger the company, the more likely it is going to be involved in this stuff. Similar things with governmental entities. Any information you give to them can now be included. I did a report on Real ID last week. Now that's starting to make sense why there is so much of a unification. And to close out for this week, if you really did want to use AI for yourself, you could use something like Jan AI. This is our solution for the week. Jan AI is a local LLM tool that allows you to download models. Typically, you get these models in GGUF files and allows you to run models on your computer. So you could ask, how could I'm asking Mike Adams' model here, it's called Neo5. How could I resist encroaching AI surveillance through tools like the ones developed by Palantir and put forth and collaborated on by local government? You can download it off of Jan's website. It's available for all platforms. Oh my gosh, it's going to send me a YouTube link. I think that's pretty cool. This is not a hypothetical question. We've seen how the surveillance state works in practice. Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel. That's true. Who also kind of founded PayPal. And Facebook, whom he now owns. I don't know about that. I'm gonna fact check that one. It's an amazing company with a lot of potential. I don't know if I'd agree with that. But this is yeah. Let's see if it has any solutions. Oh my, AI will be able to predict the future. I think that instead of being a Luddite and shutting this stuff out completely, it's important to understand how it works so you know how it could potentially be used against you. And with that knowledge, you can have a more effective action. So local AI, you know, I think that I've been using it a bit to test it out, and it doesn't really hold up to human ingenuity quite yet. There are fields, there are places where it might do better. And let's see the advice that it's giving us. So be careful of smart homes. Consider VPNs. I don't know how much that's gonna help in this whole AI thing. Not to give out personal details. That's right. Okay, that's reasonable advice, I guess. I'm gonna wrap it up there. There's a lot of things happening nowadays. I thank you for watching, and please always remember, our connection is sacred. Blessings.